Hi there. I'm making this video to try and help encourage more individuals to embrace the idea that is personal responsibility. So I'm trying to help more individuals have a desire to embrace personal responsibility to the greatest degree possible, because embracing personal responsibility isn't always the easiest thing, and to do it to the maximal extent is sometimes rather hard to do, and perhaps sometimes even impossible. But that doesn't mean we can't all try to embrace personal responsibility to the greatest degrees possible. And a lot of people on earth live in democracies where we have things like, freedom of speech, freedom of expression. We put a lot of emphasis on freedom in democracies. Freedom, personal freedom. And personal freedom is a great thing. I'm glad we have personal freedom. I'm glad democracies live on Earth. I hope that all individuals on Earth can live in democratic nations. But that doesn't mean we should try to intentionally or unintentionally create situations so that individuals can totally ignore or ignore personal responsibility. I was trying to think if there's a better word for that. But to ignore, or perhaps you could say not accept, personal responsibility, or to try and be able to not need personal responsibility. And I think that's a big mistake. We have freedom, but whether we make good choices or bad choices, those choices will likely have consequences that are either good or bad. And hopefully we are wise enough to make decisions and choices that have good consequences. But if we aren't, we may have undesirable consequences. So to try and embrace as much personal responsibility can be a way to hopefully mostly just experience good consequences. And if you're an adult, you're entitled to make mistakes, and you're likely going to make some mistakes. But that doesn't mean we should try to totally just ignore the consequences of those mistakes, because many times the consequences are natural consequences and simply are unavoidable. So to try and avoid them or ignore them before we even make decisions may likely lead to bad outcomes that are undesirable. So simply to experience as much well-being as possible on Earth, not only should we embrace freedom, which is a wonderful thing, but we should also embrace personal responsibility. So that's my thoughts on that. And I'll end it there. I hope that made sense. I think it mostly made sense. If it didn't, please feel free to comment below, and I'll try to clarify anything that wasn't clear enough. And I'm sort of speaking in generalities. But and maybe just to give at least one specific thing. It's pretty well known that smoking causes physical bodily diseases like emphysema, COPD, and cancers. So, if we just want to smoke because we enjoy it and it reduces stress, you have the freedom to smoke, although you don't have the freedom to do things like use hard drugs because those are illegal. But you have the freedom, if you're over 18, to go buy cigarettes and smoke them. And most would agree is a bad thing to do as far as the potential for negative, undesirable consequences. So then the way to avoid the negative outcomes, like, it costs money, it can, stain your teeth, and then also, again, create physical bodily diseases like COPD, emphysema, and cancers. The way to avoid those negative consequences is to simply not do it. So you have the freedom to smoke, but if you want to avoid the negative consequences, then you need to find a way to embrace and to utilize the personal responsibility of not engaging in that freedom of smoking. So to not smoke is the way to increase your chances of avoiding those negative consequences, like the monetary costs and the potential physical diseases that can come along with smoking. And this goes along with things like alcohol, driving without a seatbelt, being mean to others, so on and so forth. So, yeah, again, freedom's great, and so is personal responsibility. And if you try to, utilize all your freedoms and ignore personal responsibility, there's a lot greater chance negative things will happen. So simply, as far as enriching your own life goes, try to embrace freedom and personal responsibility, not just freedom. That's all I'm saying. So anyway, I'll end it there. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, watch my other videos, visit my websites, and have a wonderful morning, evening, afternoon, or night, whenever and wherever you may be.